Every person in this crowd has just been fired. They are singing. Thousands of them seated in a factory yard in central Java, in sky blue uniforms covered in each other's handwriting. And somewhere among them, singing too, sits the man who owns the factory. At the gate, they shout one word, "Lulus," which translates to, "We graduated." Some carry framed photographs of a man 11 years dead. This factory dressed the armies of 30 countries, and a president ordered 4 ministries to keep it alive. The thing that killed it fits on one invoice. Before this video ends, you will see the number on it, and you will not believe it. You have one of these in your country, the one that cannot die. What follows is a father who built for 60 years, 2 sons who inherited it, and the smallest bill that ever killed a company. Kertosono, East Java, 1946. A trader's son is born with a Chinese name, E.G. Xin, 1965. The new order takes power, and everything Chinese becomes forbidden. His high school closes under him in grade 2. Schooling ends at 19. Late in life, he described what it meant. We couldn't join the army. We weren't allowed to be civil servants. We were born here. We love this country. But that was the reality. Hold that sentence. 1966. Pasar Clayware, the great cloth market of Soholo. Picture the narrowest market you have ever walked through, then have the aisles. Hundreds of stalls, sellers shouting over bolts of batik, his older sister, Amelia, trading inside. He arrives with $100,000 from his parents, and no stall. So he walks. He buys rolls of unbleached cotton in Semarang and Bandung, carries them through these alleys, sells them piece by piece to the batik workshops, all day, every day. The boy the state locked out, selling cloth to people with doors. A year later, he owns 2 kiosks. By 22, a factory, bleaching and dyeing. By 1982, he is weaving his own cloth, and the Sukoharjo site keeps eating rice fields. He builds quietly for 20 years. Then the state that closed his school comes to him with an order. It wants uniforms. The 1990s bring government tenders, uniforms for the civil service, for Golkar, the ruling party, and for the army that would never have enlisted him. The exclusion became a customer. March 3rd, 1992. President Suharto himself inaugurates the new mill, a 300 billion plant, refinery money spent on cloth, built by the kiosk trader. Watch the old footage. Butian, the first lady, tours the lines in a purple floral dress, beaming beside a man once barred from finishing school. Then Germany calls. German army inspectors spend 2 years auditing the factory. Their combat uniforms are chemical puzzles. And in the words of the founder's son, if the process is wrong, it poisons the wearer. Sritex passes. Britain orders 400,000 sets. And by 1998, 1 million NATO-spec uniforms have left this campus. How did NATO find us so low? The company's own legend, told with a straight face. Indonesian and NATO soldiers once swapped uniforms after a friendly football match, and Sritex studied the fabric. That is the official story. And how many armies wear Sritex? 30, said the company in 2014, 33 in 2019, 36 in 2021. The armies were real. The counting was marketing. France appears in exactly one list. 1995. After a dream he couldn't shake, he converts to Islam in a mosque he built inside his own factory. Haji Muhammad Lukmanto. 1998. The crisis topples Suharto, and anti-Chinese riots sweep Java. In Solo, they burn his family's home. The company survives the crisis anyway. In fairness, survives is too small a word, because by 2001, it has grown roughly 8-fold. The company starts collecting strange records. Every month on the 17th, the whole campus stops for a flag ceremony, color guard trained by the army. That earned a national patriotism record for a textile company. Remember that ceremony. Another, more employees turned shareholders than any company in Indonesia. Once the stock lists in 2013. February 2014, on a routine health check in Singapore, Luke Minto dies. 10 days in a Chinese funeral home, Islamic prayer, then Confucian rite. Hundreds of workers in sky blue lining the last 3 kilometers. Both of his names are buried with him. The empire passes to his eldest son, the one who said, from age 5, I tagged along. With father, with mother at Pasar Klewer. Iwan Lakminto inherits the factories, the instincts, and one thing his father never had: Wall Street's phone number. To grow this big, the heir has been borrowing money. A lot of it. And borrowed money has a schedule. Under the heir, the company borrows abroad in dollars, bond after bond through Singapore, and a US $350 million syndicated loan from Citibank, DBS, and HSBC, due January 2022. The pandemic arrives and the military lines sew masks. Salvation on television. A rounding error on the ledger. Orders collapse. The debts stay. January 2021. The refinancing bond is pulled. The syndicate's clock keeps ticking. What happens next is now the criminal case. By the court's finding, one the family is still appealing, the company had been dressing something else: its books. The books from 2017 to 19 were window dressed. On those beautiful numbers, the company borrowed over ₹1 trillion from 3 regional state banks: Central Java's, West Java's, Jakarta's. The drawdowns wrote supplier invoices the company printed itself. The money looped home through an account named Toko Wijaya's shop, then went out again to land, rice fields, buildings, and the foreign debt. To pay Singapore and New York, they borrowed from Central Java. The hole didn't close, it moved closer to home. To be fair, the defense tells it differently. The pandemic did the killing, foreign banks fled first, no personal scent was proven. That appeal is live as you watch this. May 2021, suppliers petition, a court pauses the debts, and the stock is suspended forever. Yet in January 2022, the creditors vote yes to a rescue plan. On paper, Sritex has survived its first death. Then the audited numbers land. Profit the year before, $85 million. Now, a loss of $1.08 billion. The investigator who later read those 2 lines used one word: lopsided. The company has survived the new order, the Asian crisis, the pandemic, and its own balance sheet. What it cannot survive is a letter from its rayon supplier. June 2024, the finance director on the record. Not true that we are bankrupt. No court has ruled it so. 4 months later, a court rules it so. October 21st, Semarang's commercial court lets in Do Barat Rayon, an Indian fiber supplier, tear up the rescue plan over an unpaid bill. Here is the invoice we promised you. $100.3 billion against total debts of $25.5 trillion. The bill that killed Sritex was 0.38% of what it owed. The giant died of a paper cut. It owed 28 banks from Jakarta to Singapore to Tokyo to Dubai. The debt was more international than the uniforms. To be fair, the Republic genuinely tried. A president's 4-ministry order, customs reopening the export gates. But the coordinating minister said the fine print out loud. Management now belongs to the curators. The state was negotiating with a corpse it didn't own. In December, the Supreme Court makes it final. The family promises a last legal door, a case review that never verifiably arrives. The arithmetic is naked. $35 billion a month in payroll against $20 billion in revenue. Every month alive digs half a month deeper. February 26, 2025. One letter from the curators ends nearly 11,000 jobs. 2 days later comes the morning you have already seen. The signed uniforms, the song, the statue selfies. And now you know why the owner sat in that crowd. His company had 2 days to live. That old Suharto footage, the purple dress, the gleaming lines, goes viral again. As a eulogy. March 1st, after 58 years of thread and die, the machines stop. 10,000 people walk out singing. The rescue has failed, and the state that failed to save it has a second department, the one with handcuffs. 2 months later, the Attorney General's office confirms it is investigating the bank loans. 12 days later, officers in Sochlo arrest the elder brother, Iwan, at night. At the family home, investigators open a desk drawer. Inside, 2 bricks of cash in a red toy plastic bag. Your 2 billion, 70 years of a seamstress's wages. The younger brother's explanation, on the record, the children's education fund. Besides, banks sometimes glitch. This e-banking, your balance can just vanish. This from the chief executive of a company that owed 28 of them. 72 cars follow, then 164 parcels of land. In December, the brothers and their finance director stand trial, charged with borrowing 1.35 trillion on falsified books. The final plea is the strangest scene in this story. Both brothers weep and embrace. The elder quotes Psalm 37, voice trembling. Truth will appear like the light, and remembers in 1998, the rioters, the burning house. Survival, he is saying, is what this family does. The younger brother uses 5 words, I am not a corrupter. He also testifies to something that exists only as his sworn claim, that a government envoy wanted 600 billion from the family for a rescue, and that this investigation appeared, in his words, very suddenly, when they could not pay. The prosecution's timeline sits beside it, unresolved by any court, or by us. May 6, 2026, the verdict. 14 years for the man who tagged along since age 5. In the judge's words, the person with the greatest role in this crime. 12 for his brother, 10 for the finance director beside them. The next day, the bankers. One takes 6 years for pocketing 50,000 US dollars. The other 8 walk free. Those bankers had no intent to break the law, reads the bench, and a wrong conviction could shake public trust in banking itself. 14, 12, and 10 for the borrowers. Freedom for 8 of 9 lenders. To be clear, the acquittal also means the court found the banks genuinely deceived. The fraud finding, wearing a different robe. Within 5 days, both sides appealed everything. Nothing here is final. The state will spend years deciding who owes it what. The seamstresses are not in that queue at all. They are in a different one. Open the other ledger. The workers are owed 364 billion in severance and holiday pay. Paid out in 18 months, 0 rupiah. All they have seen is their own insurance savings returned. They get paid when the assets sell, so the estate holds auctions. Round 1, 5 vehicles sell. Round 2, 6. Round 3, 22. The Mercedes finds no buyer. What sells, the auction office notes, is mostly Avanzas. The land, the buildings, the thousands of machines. The only assets big enough to pay anyone. Still no catalog. In a leased hall on the old campus, 1,600 of the laid off are back at their old sewing machines for a new tenant. Minimum wage, 236 million a month, temporary contracts. They are keeping the machines warm for the auction that is supposed to pay them. Most of the rest are in their 40s and 50s, and factories don't hire that. Some sell motorbikes to eat. August 17, 2025, Independence Day. Outside the locked gate of the company that held a national record for flag ceremonies, the unpaid hold their own. White shirts, black trousers, the flag going up. Their spokesman needs 2 words, Belum merdeka, not yet free. What is left? The state rescue is still a press release. The stock ticker dies this November. So much for that shareholder record. The Mercedes still has no buyer, and the people the Republic forgot are still raising its flag outside the gate. As we publish, both appeals are pending. The sentences could move. The acquittals could flip. The one thing no court is scheduled to decide is when the seamstresses get paid. So the next time someone tells you a company is too big to fail, ask 2 questions. Which bill kills it? The small one, always. And who gets paid last? Because it will be the people in uniform.